We can never truly feel happy or at peace until we choose consciously and deliberately to have no fear. And that is not an easy thing to do. Hello, and welcome to The Joy Within, where we're eliminating stress and negativity, one thought at a time. I'm Kyle Greenfield, and I'll be your guide as we explore how to be calm, confident, and happy in our crazy modern world. Join us each week as we dive into some of the biggest ideas in spirituality and personal development. We'll learn what it takes to gain control of your own mind, master your mood, and navigate the many ups and downs along the way. Visit thejoywithin.org to get started so you can become the calm, confident, and happy person you truly deserve to be. Hello, and welcome back to the Joy Within's podcast, and I want to wish a happy Halloween to everyone. In honor of this scariest of days, I thought I'd take some time today to talk about fear, and more specifically, how a lot of deep-seated, unconscious fears we hold can manifest as different types of negative emotions. But to begin, I want you to take a second to relax, let out a big sigh, maybe shift your posture a bit, and take a few seconds to imagine what it would be like if you truly were not afraid of anything. Ask yourself how you would feel if you knew with absolute certainty that no matter what happens, you are okay. If you truly believed that, if you truly believed that all is always well with you, how would you feel? How would you feel if you knew that nothing in the world around you could hurt you? And if behind all of your thoughts of struggle, or of pain, or of negativity, were a blanket of peace that was so profound that you could not even begin to describe it? What would that be like? For me, I know that whenever I settle into that space, I feel a lifting, a sort of calm, confident assurance rise within me. And I just know that all is well. It is. All is well. Affirm that to yourself right now. All is well with me. Take a moment to truly rest into that feeling. I love doing this little exercise because it reminds me that when we allow our fears to drop away, even if only for a few seconds, then we can glimpse what life could be like if we could live without those fears. And it points to the fact that maybe, just maybe, our lives are more dominated by our fears than we like to admit. A lot of the time, we are blind to these fears. I actually think on some level we want to be blind to them. We somehow let that little voice in our head convince us that if we can just package up that fear, if we can just bundle it up and stick it in the corner, we'll never have to deal with it again. And we think we can be happy if we just pretend that that fear isn't really there. Then we turn outside of ourselves. The fear crops up in 1,000 different ways, and we focus on fixing the world around us rather than addressing the root causes within us. I think we do this because most of the time we can get by just fine without ever really opening up that Pandora's box. But the more time I spend studying my own inner world, the more I feel we can never truly feel happy or at peace until we choose consciously and deliberately to have no fear. And that is not an easy thing to do. I by no means have eliminated all fear from my life, but I have developed a process for working through my fears when they arise, and with practice, it becomes easier to rest into that state beyond fear. So I thought I'd share that process with you today. Hey guys, so I don't run outside ads or get sponsors for the podcast, which means I rely on you to help keep it going. The best way you can do that is to help spread the word. Leave a 5-star review, tell your friends, share it on social. I think we all know people who are struggling, and I know issues like stress and negativity can be hard to talk about, which makes sharing a link a really easy way to connect and tell someone you care. And if you find the podcast helpful, I promise you they will too. So do me a quick favor and think of 3 people you know who would benefit from this podcast and send them a link. That's it. Now, back to the show. The first step in the process is to acknowledge that if you feel negative, in whatever form that takes for you, then behind that negativity is a fear of some kind. I've actually come to believe that all negativity is rooted in fear, though we're often unaware of what those fears are. There's a lot to unpack there, but for today, I just want you to take that leap with me. Negativity points to fear. It's okay if you don't see that connection fully right now. Just let it wander around your mind for a while. Negative emotions point to fear. If you make that assumption, even if only for the purposes of this process, then you can move on to the next part of the process. So think about something that has been bringing you down lately, and ask yourself, what am I afraid of here? Now, you could do this in the moment when you feel negative, but I think it's most powerful when you work from a calm, collected state of mind, after the main negative emotions have passed. So maybe you do this as a journaling exercise or a reflection after a meditation. Simply call the negative emotion to mind in the context of a recent experience, and then ask, what about this am I afraid of? And repeat that question a number of times. Often, when we're dealing with deep fears, it takes a few iterations for the real cause to emerge. And sometimes, the answer won't emerge at all in that moment, and that's okay. The point is to sit with the question and let your subconscious mind bring it forward in its own time. Sometimes I do this with no immediate result, and then a few days later I get an insight, or I read something, or I hear something that triggers an aha kind of moment. The key is to try not to force a response and to allow your awareness of your fears to come in its own time. If you keep practicing this, the fears will emerge. And when they do, the final step is to begin to look through that fear. Try to see the holes in it. Look for evidence that it is not actually true. This takes time, so be patient with yourself. Just being honest with yourself about that fear, allowing yourself to look at it, is in itself a huge step. To work past them, I like to turn to my beliefs. I like to ask, what must I believe in order to have this fear? Or what would I believe if I didn't have this fear? Then you can work over time to shift those beliefs. At the very least, you can begin to recognize that those beliefs are a choice. You can choose the belief that leads you towards fear, or you can choose the belief that leads you towards peace. You are in control of the process. For example, let's say you're stressed out at work. First, you would acknowledge that stress is a negative emotion and that it is rooted in fear of some kind, even if you don't feel afraid. You just feel stressed. But acknowledging that there may be a fear behind that stress lets you ask, okay, so what about this scares me? Well, maybe you're afraid that if you don't do a good job or if you don't meet the deadline, then you might lose your job. On the surface, that seems reasonable, but dig into it a little deeper. Why are you afraid of losing your job? Well, maybe you have a mortgage to pay and a family to care for and other responsibilities that are important to you. And again, this seems like a reasonable fear. You're worried that you won't be able to meet your obligations. Maybe you're worried that in an extreme case, you'd wind up homeless on the street. But let's clarify this for a moment. You're afraid of not being able to provide for your family. What must you believe to have that fear? Maybe you doubt that if you lost your job, you would be able to find another. Can you switch that belief? Could you instead choose to believe that you always have the ability to find a job? Could you believe that you always have the ability to earn more money? Wouldn't knowing that, truly knowing it, help you to feel less stressed about the current problem or deadline at work? I'm not saying you can flip this belief in 1 second. Maybe you can, but maybe it takes some practice. Maybe it takes work. Maybe there's other related beliefs you have to flip first. The point is to identify those first. That's the path to releasing this fear. Or let's look at one more example. So imagine that you've been fighting with your partner recently, and maybe you're worried your relationship is over. Can you see how that worry is a thin veil for fear? Can you ask yourself what the real fear is? What about that possibility scares you? Even if it's not something that you want, not wanting it is different from being afraid of it. So what is scary about it? Are you afraid of being alone? Are you afraid that it means something about you as a person? About your ability to love or to be loved? Acknowledge that fear, recognize it, then try to look through it. Can you feel that you are already worthy, that you are already loved, even when you can't see the evidence for that? Can you feel that love within yourself? Or can you look at the beliefs that are surrounding that fear? Maybe you believe that you're too old to find a new partner, or you wouldn't know where to begin if you had to start over. Recognize that those are beliefs, so you can choose if you want to change them. You could choose to believe that the right people will always appear at the right time. You could choose to believe that your current struggle is evidence of your growth. You could choose to believe that there is a hidden benefit even if you can't see what it is right now. There isn't a right or wrong answer. It's about finding the beliefs that resonate with you so you can feel the new beliefs are true and come to know that the fear is false. Gradually, that strengthens the peace within you. And as you stack up these many different smaller beliefs, as you chip away at the many different fears that we all hold, we can come to know more fully that all is well. We can more easily step into that vision that we started out with, that vision of living beyond fear. Again, this process is not always easy. It takes time, and it requires you to be brutally honest with yourself. But it is worth it. And I want you to know that you don't have to be alone in this process. The Joy Within has the tools, the resources that will show you how to identify those fears and negative emotions within you, and then to reshape them. We do it by unleashing your natural inner energy, your resonance, which can guide you into that feeling of peace, joy, and well-being. So just head over to thejoywithin.org to get started, or ask about our one-to-one coaching program. Because you can do this. You can overcome your fears, in whatever form they may take. And we are here to help you every step along the way. All you have to do is get started. Thanks for listening to today's episode. When you're ready to take a stand against the stress and negativity in your life, head over to thejoywithin.org, sign up, and choose the path that's right for you. When you join, you'll learn a simple process to activate your natural inner joy so you can regain control and become the calm, confident, and happy person you deserve to be. Visit thejoywithin.org to get started today. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love, because I think we can all use a little more joy in our crazy modern world.